What up, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Hour with me, Paul Abernathy. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully, everybody had a wonderful weekend, got energized, got what you had to get done, the honey-do list or whatnot, and you're ready to go. Thanks for joining me. As always, I know you have many options to learn about electrical and have a discussion on electrical, but to take the time out of your week, Monday through Friday, to join me here on Coffee Hour, I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you get something out of each show and, of course, the replays. If you go back and watch the replays and look for little pieces of the show that are beneficial to you, it's all about you. So the key to our show is making sure that you suggest things and send it to us at paulabernathy.com so that we can have it on future shows and we can cover topics that you want to talk about. We're currently in the middle of a series of calculations where we did the standard. A couple weeks ago, we did the standard method and we did the optional method for a single family dwelling. Then we moved into the standard method for multifamily dwellings, and we covered that last week. So if you didn't catch those shows, go back and watch them before they get moved over to Fast Track's Tube, where they'll sit permanently in the Coffee Hour series. And you can go there and watch those. And we have added a couple there, so if you're interested, go watch them there. And of course, this week we'll be catching up on the multifamily optional method. And it's much easier to do, so we can have more of a fluid conversation and talk about the NEC. Now, I will tell you up front, we are not going to have Coffee Hour live next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. because I am out of town. I am teaching a seminar in Minnesota. So I will be out for 3 days teaching. So we will have something, but it'll be pre-recorded. So just keep that in mind. It will not be live, but it will be probably one of our older shows or something that we put up here for Coffee Hour. So just be aware of that. Let you know up front that during the week of the 24th, so the 24th, 25th, and 26th, I will not have a live show. Okay, now I might drop in on the show. I might be in the audience. I might be one of the commenters because I will be traveling, but I won't be able to do the live show because I will not be in the studio to do that. Okay. All right. Just want to do that. Now, as always, I want to tell you, I get tons of emails from people letting me know their successes. I also get emails from people letting me know their struggles. And I want to know both because I want to have the ability to help you any way I can. If I can give some advice, some insight, some things that I've done wrong that I can keep you from doing it wrong, I'm more than happy to share that. I am certainly not perfect in any way. And as an electrical contractor for years, I had my ups and downs. So I've either advertised or marketed or learned or lost my butt on something. I've done it through the years. So again, I typically get a kick out of the social media where they go, they'll go, Paul, are you an electrician? You don't work with your hands. Now I've done that. I spent my 30 plus years working with the hands. And then I realized that I tried to do both for a long time, teach and work with the hands, and it just became problematic. So I let my companies go about 4 years ago back in Texas, where I had started my contracting business again when we moved to Texas in 2014 from Virginia. And ultimately, I had so many things going on. But it seems that some people want to post things saying that if you're not actively doing it, you don't know it. Well, that is kind of strange considering lately I've been watching social media and people have been posting some of the craziest crap I've ever seen in my life. It's like somebody saying I've got a 50 amp breaker, then I'm getting 100 amps out of that. And they obviously they don't understand how the sine wave works, and they're just looking at it thinking leg A gives you 50, leg B gives you 50, you add them together and you get 100 amp. That's not how it works. But unfortunately, I've been seeing a lot of this on social media, and it's quite interesting that people will argue it with such a passion, and they're so wrong. But God bless Angry's out there. He texts me. We stay in contact, and he lets me know what's going on out there, because I look at it and I just cringe, and I think, I hope that is not what we're teaching kids today or young folks today in trade school. I so hope, and I pray that the trade schools are not going downhill. I have such a fond memory of going to trade school that I just hope that's not where we're going. All right. As always, I like to give shout outs to those that join us that are in the family. So we're going to do that now. Do some shout outs. Crypto, what's up? Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Coffee Hour. Glad to have you here. Adam's our mainstay here. Adam, giving a shout out to all of us electrical nerds out there. Absolutely. And I know Adam does have a collection of Code Nerd gear. Okay. He got it from fasttracksystem.com. You can get your own code gear. Nerd gear, that's what we call it. David, we have a CMECP in the house, so we definitely want to give some applause to our CMECPs. These are people that have gone that extra mile to show people, look, it's just not about learning to code, it's a lifestyle. And being a CMECP, it's a lifestyle. You definitely make a commitment 6 months of your life to get something done, and it's not the easiest thing, as any of our CMECPs can attest to that. Now, David's also setting the tone for today. He's letting us know #win's going to get you in on the spin. So we're going to have some spinning today. Let's see if we can give away some goodies. We're coming close to that March 31st where we're going to have a drawing. And then we'll start it back up. We'll put some new goodies on the wheel, and we'll start a new contest again from there. Let's see here. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining us. Paul's also got that #win, so he's also going to get in on the spin. Eric, thanks for joining us over on our Facebook. Oh, I should mention we are doing behind the scenes now on Instagram. Okay, rather than sharing the videos, if you're over on Instagram and you want to see the actual live, you need to go to our YouTube channel or to Fast Tracks Tube, either one. But we're doing the behind the scenes. I am on a TikTok boycott, so we're not doing any live streams to TikTok. We might do a random video here or there or something just funny, maybe a reply to Angry Sparky or somebody like that. But we're really not contributing any effort to TikTok for the next 3 months at least. So it's just, it is what it is for us. It's truly a stupid platform. What's up, David? Good morning. Glad to have you here. Christopher is in the house. Christopher, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you here. Christopher's also got that hashtag win, letting everybody know about it. There you go, getting in on a spin. Tino, good morning all. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Kendra is in the house. Kendra, thanks for joining us. Good morning. Glad to have you here. And also hits that win. Jay Parker is also hitting that win. Jay, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you here. Alex is in the house. Outdoor man, good morning. We're gonna have it. We're gonna have a blessed week. We're gonna make some money. We're gonna make some connections. We're gonna learn. We're gonna make life what it is, because life is freaking short. So you better grab what you can while you can. I'm just saying. What's up, crypto? All right. There you go. You're in Minnesota. So I'm going to be out there 24th, 25th, and 26th teaching to some engineers around it's an engineering session. I'm doing it for Prismium and Encore, where I have to teach some engineers some code changes and answer their technical questions. Terrence, good morning, Terrence. Good morning from the DMV up there in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, working the trifecta there. Let's see here. Van Man, welcome. I see you in there. Good morning. Sarasota. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I see Rob in there over on the tube, over on Fast Tracks Tube. Good morning. Glad to have you here. Frank the Great's in the house. All the regulars are here. There you go. Frank, another great week. Let's do it. Let's make some money. What is Adam? Adam's telling us to all the haters, go. That's exactly right. There you go. Melted Toast. I see you here with the win. Edgar in the house. Edgar, good morning, Edgar. Thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here. Okay. Dino says it's job security. Absolutely. Mike, welcome. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Glad to have you here. Gracefield Life is in the house. Good morning. New Brunsfells, Texas. Brunsfells. I lived in Texas for 11 years. Never went there. Let's see who else we got here. Good morning, Nick. Thanks for joining us. What does it say? Just as I hope AI isn't picking up on the misinformation and passing along. Yeah, hopefully. Usually AI or artificial intelligence is smart enough to actually, it's all about how you write the prompts and how you do it, but it's probably less about misinformation, and probably crap in is crap out when it comes to AI. So if you don't construct your questions well enough to an artificial intelligence model, it's just going to give you some stuff. So it's always about fine tuning the models. I think it's always about adding additional prompts that try to qualify that it read the published standards, because most of these standards are published. They're out there. So that type of scenario. So that's usually about what that's all about. We hope anyway. Let's see here. There's no stream delay between YouTube and FastTube. So are you saying that they're synced, that they're the same amount of delay, or is it Fast Tracks Tube has got more of a delay? Help me out there. See if I can figure that out. What's up, Joseph? Watching from New Jersey over on Facebook. Good morning. Glad to have you here. Red Dog's in the house. Red. Welcome, Red. Thanks for joining us. We got Cray Cray in the house. Cray Cray, thanks for joining us. Oh, yes, I should say. Frank, it is right. Hey, laddie. Good afternoon, laddie. It's St. Patty's Day. That's the best I got. What's up? Jay from up in Missouri. Good morning. Nelson. Chavez, good morning, Nelson. Glad to have you here. Derek, good morning from Chicago. Glad to have you here. Let's see here. We got Rob. Good morning, Rob. And he's over on our YouTube channel. And Trey is in the house. Good morning, Trey. Glad to have you here. Okay. Continue to let me know who you are, where you're from as we go into today's lesson. Glad to have all of you here. So today's lesson is we're going to be moving into the optional method. And I always like to just start full turkey right into the full multifamily example and then always do the single family part of it. The individual dwelling units. I always like to kind of do that later because I think for me, it's all about getting the bigger picture done. And of course, our episode here, we're trying to do multifamily dwellings and that type of thing. So we're going to show the optional method for this first and work our way through it. And we have the whole week that's dedicated to this optional method. So we're going to cover other topics as well that are revolved around the optional method. But we're just kind of going to piece it together here and talk about it. And we have some presentations. Chindo, I guess that's the name of it. Chindo, is that it? From Arkansas. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Ooh, Rob says they're in sync. Okay, cool. Good deal. Maybe they're getting better over on the Fast Tracks tube, over on that script. We'll see. We'll see how it works. It will get better, guys, here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully when we get the new broadband in here. But again, they have not given us a date. So as long as y'all can see everything, it's okay. Me, it struggles sometimes on the back end, but we'll see. All right, let's kind of get into today's lesson here. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the optional method. One of the ways to do this is using the optional method for the multifamily dwelling load calculation. And okay, so what we got is we're going to be using 220.84. And that's what we're working out of today. So I don't have, let me come back over here and show you what we're doing here. So let's see if the code is working first off. Okay. It doesn't look like it's working for me. So I'm going to do something here and then see if it refreshes this. Okay. So y'all let me know as usual. Because I've got a little trick that I'm doing now that might make it work quicker if it's black for me. That way. So this is what we're looking at. We're looking at the multifamily. Okay. So we're going to be using the optional method, multifamily, and we're going to be calculating this out. And we're going to be using the forms again from our Fast Tracks program. Okay. So we're going to be using the forms. What's up, Randall? Thanks for joining us as well. Erie, E-R-Y. I guess that's Erie. You're Erie. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Recognize the name, so I believe it is a Fast Track student. I believe I recognize that name. Okay. So remember, let me know if you can't see the screen or if it doesn't share or that type of thing, because I'm not typically monitoring it. I probably should monitor it, but I'm really not monitoring it, but I will monitor it just to see. Let's see here, so I know that it's okay. It looks like it is, so we're okay. Okay, just wanting to see whether it was sharing it or not. All right. So with that said, let's go to this view. So here's where we're at, and here's the multifamily dwelling. So we're going to be doing 220.84, but we're going to be using our form. And the reason we use forms, in case you're new, is the forms that we have in our program. And I'm not happy with something real quick, guys. Hold on here for a second. I got to fix something that's driving me crazy. That would drive me crazy. Okay. All right. So what we're doing is that we're going to be going over the form piece by piece and showing you what you fill in, what you don't. And that way you get better familiar with it. And for those that are in it. Now, there is rumors from our board of directors. There is rumors that we're going to make these forms available, and they're obviously available already for students, but we might make them available as well for everybody else. Don't hold me to that. We'll see what they decide. Those are the kind of things that I let them decide. I just present it, and that way I don't feel guilty bad one way or another about it. They decide. All right, so they're a voluntary board that I have. Okay, all right. So let's so what we're going to do is let's go on and get to the lesson. And so one thing you'll notice is that in the other ones that we've been doing, nothing's changing as far as the structure. Okay, we're going to use the same structure so that we can compare and see how it was when we did the standard method. Okay, so nothing's changing from that. So we still got our dwelling. It's 30 by 35, the outside dimensions. We still have 2 small appliance circuits. We still have 1 laundry circuit. We still have an electric water heater, 4,500 kW. We have a dishwasher at 10 amps at 120 volts, which we have to calculate the VA for. We have our microwave oven at 10 amps at 120 volts, which we still have to we'll have to calculate the VA for. Again, that's just amps times volts, easy peasy. We have an in-sink waste disposer, 7.5 amps at 120. Okay. We have electric clothes dryer at 5,000 watts or 5 kW. We have electric range at 12 kW. It's already given to us, and those are 240 volt loads. We have electric heat, which is 5 kW at 240 volts. And we have air handler at 3 amps at 115. We have an air conditioning compressor at 14 amps at 230. So no horsepower rating. So we don't have to go look up the horsepower and go to the FLC and then get the amps and then do that times the volts. We don't have to do that. It's already done for us. So we have 14 amps for that. And then we have the condenser fan motor at 2 amperes at 115 volts. Again, so assume the water heater, clothes dryer, range, and electric heat in kW is equivalent to kVA. We have all that. That's our standard stuff that we do all the time. Okay. All right. So at this point, we're going to be looking at the first thing on the list. And again, this is basically what it says in 220.84C1. Here's your code references right here, by the way. Okay. And it basically, what you get to the optional method, it's so much easier than the standard because everything is right there, right? It tells you everything that you need to do in order to calculate this out. So 220.84C1, if we were to go look at that, and I would have take us here, and it's not loading, so we'll try my little trick here. Oh, there we go. And so here is 220.84, okay? And we get the permission, by the way, to be able to use this optional method right here. It says it shall be permissible to calculate the load on a feeder or service that supplies 3 or more dwelling units of a multifamily dwelling in accordance with table 220.84b instead of part 3, which is what we spent time doing last week. So in the real world, we're going to typically what? We're going to be doing the optional method in the real world. On an exam, they're probably going to ask you the standard methods, right? So, but could they shock you and ask you to do the optional method? Absolutely, they could. And you need to know how to do the optional method in the real world. But you still need to know how to do the standard method, so you're sizing the neutral, right? Okay. All right, so all of this, let's make sure that we can use the optional method first, okay? Because they have to, if all of the following conditions are met. So no dwelling unit is supplied by more than 1 feeder, okay? No, we're going to be supplying a separate one to each unit, okay? Each dwelling unit is equipped with the electric cooking. Yes, each one of ours has a 12 kW electric range, so we're good there, right? We're good there, all right? And it says each dwelling unit is equipped with either electric space heating or air conditioning or both, okay? And the answer to that is yes, because we have, clearly, in our example, we have electric heat and we have air conditioning. So we have either or, but we also have both, okay? So we're good to go there, all right? So the next thing it says, okay, so we have no house loads, okay? So no house loads involved in here, that type of thing. So we have calculated load. Now remember, if we had house loads, let's say it was a multifamily building and had a separate areas that was a laundry or something there that was open to everybody or something like that, then you would just calculate the house loads up, okay? And again, we'll do that in the future, but the house load shall be calculated in accordance with part 3 and then added to your optional totals, okay? You don't use the optional, okay? type of thing. Okay. So it says house load shall be calculated in accordance with part 3 of this article and shall be in addition to the dwelling unit loads calculated in accordance with table 220-84B. So again, don't let that overwhelm you. If you get something that has house loads, you take those, you calculate those using part 3, which we learned last week. Take that total, set it aside, then do your optional method for your dwelling units. And once you come up with the total, you just simply add the two together. Okay, that type of thing. So don't let it over confuse you when it comes to that, because that's all you're going to do with that. All right, so here's what we're doing, calculating our loads right here. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to calculate the load, which is to which the demand factors of this table gets applied to. So we have to come up with the numbers, right? And that's what we're going to do on our form. So the very first thing is, this is very familiar, 3 VA per square foot for general lighting and general use receptacles. Okay? And again, general use receptacles are going to be all those receptacles around your bedroom, all those receptacles around your living room, all those receptacles in the basement, if it's what you had. Well, probably don't have a basement for this because this is an individual dwelling unit of a 12-unit complex. But you get the point. It's going to be all those things other than the small appliance and the laundry. It's going to be the other general use lighting and general use receptacles. What's up, Liddy? Thanks for joining us. Welcome. Angel, thanks for joining us. I thought y'all weren't there for a second because it was so quiet. Okay, so I was like, the normal... it was too quiet. So I was like, maybe they're gone or something like that. All right. So anyway, so that's what we've got for that. So we go back over to our lesson. So we know that it's the 3 VA. This is the form we use. So 3 VA times, and then the square footage is 30 by 65. By 35, right? Because they're still using the outside dimension. So that is 1,050. So 3 times 1,050 times 12 units is 37,800. Now, don't take my word for it. This is where we get out old trusty Casio times 1,050 times 12. And there you go. Old Casio tells us 37,800. So the math is correct. Okay. So that part's done. All right. Next, you go back and they go, okay, let's go back to the optional method. All right, we're back to the optional method. Okay, let's go back here. Now that was done. This was done. So now let's do the second one. The second one says, okay, this is where it's easy, because remember when you did the standard method, you know, you had to go back and read it and it said, okay, small appliance brand circuits, yada, yada, yada. So here it's all right there for you, okay? And so it says 1,500 VA for each 2-wire 20 ampere small appliance brand circuit and each laundry circuit covered in 210.11C1 and C2. So C1 being the small appliance brand circuit, C2 being the laundry. So we simply have to look at our list and see how many do we have. So if you look at the form, then what you've got, here's your small appliance, second one. All right, and you notice how these are solid gray? Because these are not going to be something you apply demand yet to. These are solid numbers you're going to be using, okay? So it's 1,500 VA. There's a minimum, there's 2 small appliance brand circuits right here, but there's a minimum of 2 per the code. That's where you get it in 210.11C1. So a minimum of 2, right? And so that tells us that it's 1,500 times 2 times 12 units. That's 36,000. So I'm going to double check the math. 1,500 times 2 times 12. And that's 36,000, excuse me. All right. What's up, Charles? Glad to have you here, Charles. So that's 36,000. Okay. So the next, we're going to get that laundry out of the way. We had 1. So again, now this is interesting. If you happen to have a laundry on facility that was available to all tenants, right, then probably would have a load under the house panel, okay, because it's for everybody and it's controlled by whatever the owners of the building. In our case, there isn't one because we have a laundry circuit in here, so we're putting the laundry circuit in. But it's interesting to note that if I had a multifamily building that had its separate laundry facility, that probably would be under the house loads. So you'd be calculating that using the Part 3 standard method for the house loads. If that's available to all the tenants, then I wouldn't necessarily need this laundry circuit. Okay. But since we have one, we have to account for it. But I wouldn't necessarily need one because 210.52F and the exceptions would make it irrelevant to have one, because you have exceptions to say, well, you know what, if I don't need the receptacle, if I don't need the circuit for the laundry because there's one that's provided for all the tenants and it's a common laundry facility on site, then I don't have to put that receptacle. And if I don't have to put that receptacle for the laundry, then guess what? I don't need the laundry circuit. So I don't need to add the 1500 VA. However, in our example, we do have a laundry. And so we have to account for that 1500 VA for the laundry. Okay. Good morning, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us. Southern Tennessee's in the house. Okay. So in this case, since we do have it, we have to account for it. Okay. And there was nothing mentioned in here about an on-site facility. So these are obviously 12 independent units with their own entry and exits that have their own lighting and everything. So there's no house panels here. So 1500 times 1, minimum of 1. Okay, and our form tells you that, times 12. So 1,500, let's do the math. We don't ever trust it. 1,500 times 1 times 12 equals 18,000. Casio doesn't lie. So there we go, 18,000. All right, so we have all these numbers. So that's our first part, okay? Now, if we go back, if we look at the code here, if we look here, this is the first part. So we've done this one and we've done this one. And that's what our numbers were that we have. So it was 37,800. There was 36,000 for the small appliance. That's all the units. And then it was 18,000 for the laundry. That's all the units. Okay. That part's done. So now we can move on to the next part of this. So the next part is right here. So here's where we're going to be putting all of these appliances in play that we had. Now, one thing to remember is that we're taking everything now at our nameplate, right? So this is what makes the optional so easy, is you're just throwing down the exact value that you have from the nameplate. We're not doing anything at this point. We're going to be applying demands, but we're taking everything from the nameplate, okay? So if you remember, we had a 4,500 watt water heater. Well, we've got 12 units, so 4,500 times 12. And check the math for me, folks. Don't trust my math, because sometimes I use these for other lessons. So 54,000, that's correct. The dishwasher was 1,200. How do we get 1,200, by the way? Right here, the dishwasher was 10 times 120. Remember, that's how we do it. So it's 10 times 120 to get us the VA, and that's 1,200. There you go. There's old Casio. So that's how we did it on each one of these. So the disposer, that right there was 900. And if you see the disposer right here, in-sync weights is 7.5 amps times 120. That's how we got the 900. So 900, there's 12 of them because there's 12 units, right? So 900.12, I think that is 10,800. Let's see. 900 times 12. Yep, 10,800. That's correct. Notice how easy it is for the optional. We're just adding things up. The next is clothes dryer. 5,000. Okay, that's the value. So that is the exact value of the clothes dryer. Where is it at? Right here. It's 5,000. Now, what's interesting in this one, and it differs from the standard method. In the standard method says it's 5,000 or the nameplate, whichever is greater, right? When it comes to the optional method, if it was 4,500, that's what you use. If it was 5,500, that's what you use. So in the optional method, you're simply pulling the nameplate. Okay, so if you're doing this in the real world, it's important that you have this data to be able to do this accurately, that type of thing. So in a lot of these multifamilies, you will get the data because it's pretty much pre-done, engineered, that type of thing. But if it wasn't, then you're going to have to collect the information, because otherwise I don't know how you do an accurate calculation, that type of scenario. All right, the next, okay, let's just double check it. 5,000, Paul says the math is correct. 5,000 times 12, so 60, that's right. The next is in a range, and we're taking the full 12 kW value. Okay, we're not using 8,000. We're not using 220.55 in the table. We're not using that. That's under the standard method. We're doing optional. So So we take the full value, right? So it's 12,000, and we multiply that by 12 just to see, and that's 144,000, and that is correct. And then we take that microwave, and again, how do we get the microwave? Right here, microwave 10 times 120 to get the VA, amps times volts. And so that was where we got the 1200 times 12, and that is 14,400. So we pulled together all of the appliances that we have. Okay? We put the water heater in here. Oh, and by the way, just for craps and giggles so that you can see where that is, because we're kind of lumping everything here together. Let me go back to the NEC here real quick. If you see what we did in 3 right here, we just kind of, there's the fasten in place appliances, okay? But also, here's something important. So some people say to me, they say, Paul, well, how do I incorporate an EV in this, right? How do I bring that into the play, or some other specific circuit to other specific loads that may be in here? So, because Paul, your example doesn't cover every possible thing that could be in a dwelling. Well, that would be impossible for us to do in an example. But if you read this, you'll understand. It says, all appliances that are fastened in place, permanently connected, or located to be on a specific circuit. So you would take the nameplate from whatever that is. Now, an EVSE is an appliance, whether you like it or not. It's made in standardized sizes. It is an appliance. So again, I think we sometimes think of appliances as nothing but like a dishwasher and something like that. But no, an EVSE is an appliance, and it also has a specific circuit being run to it. Okay, so that type of scenario. So this is the kind of scenario that you take into consideration. It's a EVSE, you're mounting it on the wall, it's permanent, okay, fastened in place, all those type of things. Then you have to account for that load. Whereas in the standard method, we're accounting for it with a VA value of 7,200 or the nameplate, whichever is greater, right? Here, it's going to be the nameplate, and whatever that is, you utilize it, and you have to account for it. But this is where you would account for it, okay? Taking into this is for the load calculation. We're not talking about the branch circuit to it. Load calculation, okay? Anyway, so here you see water heater gets encompassed here, and you got your clothes dryer, that type of thing. And again, that's your clothes dryer. We're not talking about the receptacles that would be required for the laundry circuit, that 20 amp. That's already been covered up here. Okay, so that type of thing. All right. The next thing, just so we kind of have this covered, is that you also have these down here. I want you to be aware of that we're going to be tackling. Okay. Now, number 4 says the nameplate amperage or kVA rating of all permanently connected motors that are not included in item 3. So again, you could have something that's being added with a motor that is not, falls nice niftily in item number 3. So it's basically, think of 4 as an additional catch-all, because we have to account for these loads. I know that through the years, I remember a question that was asked me at a trade school where I was teaching at one time, and they asked me, they said, well, Paula, if the codes calculation has some gaps in it, or it doesn't discuss something, or doesn't bring up something exactly, does that mean we don't have to account for it? And no, that is not what it means. We try to find a place inside of here that we can account for that. And we're going to be able to apply a nice demand factor here, but we have to find a place that we can get it in there. And we understand that there's a good level of diversity that we're going to have through this optional calculation. And it may yield better results than the standard method. Typically, the optional method does yield a better result. And when I say better, I mean a lower value. That means that we're going to use smaller conductors. It's still safe, still protected. You can always ignore that and go full size if you want. But we're always, especially for exams, we're always trying to size it the most optimal result. And that means the smaller, less material, less cost. It's optimized. We're not overcharging a client for something that they don't need. That the best way that I can explain it when you're looking at the code. That's why we use 310.12 for the optional method. 310.12 for the 83%. Anytime we can. And, that also applies whether it's a standard calculation or optional. You can still use 310.12. That's another thing that people don't realize, that 310.12 is not specific to using the standard method. Okay? It is available for use, whether you're doing a optional method or a standard method. Okay, if it's applicable and 310.12 applies, then you can use it. That's another, people have a misconception that you can't apply it. You absolutely can apply it. There's nothing that says you can't, as long as you met all the rules. Okay. All right, so that's your kind of your catch-all right there, right? And then, of course, we're going to, lastly, we'll do the larger of the AC load or the fixed electric space heating. Now, this is what makes this one kind of interesting when it compares to the standard method, because we're going to get ready to do this. And I don't understand why we have to go through the garbage of comparing the heat versus AC in the standard and taking the the lesser of the two non-coincident loads at 125% and do all that. I don't know what's the reason we have to do all that garbage and just add confusion that we've added to for years, especially when it comes to even multifamily dwellings, for example. I'm just going to compare heat versus AC and take whichever is the larger. And that's what it was done even in the standard method up until the 2020 NEC. And then it got a little more complicated in a sense that it's trying to capture, if the heat versus AC, if the heat was larger but the AC was less, but it had the largest motor in the dwelling, then you would calculate that largest motor at 125% and then redo the math. Why? I don't get it. I mean, I rack my brain thinking, really, what's the reason for it when we can just go right to the optional method anyway and it's choosing the larger of the two? It doesn't make sense to me. And this is probably why most people are never going to use the standard method. Just not going to do it. Okay. So anyway, it's kind of my thoughts on that scenario. Okay, so let's get back to the lesson. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let me know. All right, so there we go. So we've done this one. So now we're going to be moving to the heat versus AC portion of this. So this is 220.84 C5. Okay, so we've got all these numbers. Okay, we got all our numbers here. We got all our numbers here. Okay, we're doing everything. We got all these numbers. So we're kind of writing all those down, just memorizing them and putting them in our head. So now we're going to move to this version. Okay, all right. Move here. All right, so heat versus AC. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is say, well, let's take a look at this heat. What is this heat? Now, the heat's going to be the larger of the two. We've already kind of done this before in previous lessons, okay? But in this case, we don't care about the 125, right? We don't care about any of that. All we're taking is the heat, and the heat is what? 5,000 watts, right? And then that air handler's got to blow the heat around, right? So if we're going to take it, then we would take that. Let's say, okay, let's just do the total. So that would be the air handler would be on at the same time. So this is 3 times 115 because the air handler would be blowing. So it would be running the same time the heat would be. So it's the loads overall. The heat encompasses both those things. So that would be 3 times 115 is 345 plus the 5,000, which is our heat. Okay, so plus the 5,000, that equals 5,345. That's just one unit, by the way. Okay, that's it right there. Okay, now we got 12 units. So we multiply that by 12, and that should give us, times 12, that should give us 64,140. Okay, so there you go, Mr. Casio, and I think Paul will approve. That's the numbers. Now, when you compare this to the AC was just that 345 for the air handler, plus the 14 times 230, which was 3,220, plus the 2 times 115. This is 2 times 115. So that was 230 plus 3,220 plus 345. So the AC was only 3,795. So obviously the heat's larger. Okay. So that's why we're going with the heat, comparing the two. Okay. So that's what we've got. So 5,345 times 12, right? And that is 64,140. So that's our heat. Notice this is solid, right? Solid. Okay, show you how easy this multifamily dwelling is. All right, so then we go down here. Now, add up all those numbers. That easy. Multifamily dwellings, a little different from the single optional, but the multifamily from multifamily buildings, and we have 3 or more units. This is so easy. So now we just add the numbers. Now, I don't know these numbers are right, so we're going to go through the process of adding these numbers. I want to make sure these are right. So 37,800 plus, you can do it with me, 36,000 plus 18,000 plus 54,000 plus 14,400 plus 10,800 plus 60,000 plus 144,000 plus 14,400 plus 64,140 equals 453,540. Okay, so again, Mr. Casio right there doesn't lie. So we're right there. Now, we had just add everything up. Okay. Now, by the way, if there was a house panel, okay, we would not apply this to this 41%. We wouldn't apply. Oh, I'll show you where we get the 41%. These numbers are everything other than a house panel. If we have a house panel, we would add this to it, okay, afterwards, okay? But right now, we're just trying to multiply, okay? So here we're at. So where do we get this 41? Okay, so let's go back to the NEC. And so we're here. So we had 12 units, right? So we're coming back to this. So no, we got optional mess. We're going to right here. So we have 12 units right here. So this is the optional. And again, this is for 3 or more. Okay. So we have 12 right here. So we're using the multiplier. This is a percentage. Okay. So we have 12. It's 41%. Easy peasy. Okay. There you go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. So we're going to go back to the lesson. All right. So 453,540. Okay. All right. We're going to do that. We're going to multiply it for 453,540. We're going to multiply that by 41%. So 0.41. I like to do it on Mr. Casio. And that is 185,951.4. We can drop the 0.4 because it tells us we can do that in 220.5 that we can do that. Okay. So there you go. There we go. So there's our value. Now, if we had a house load, we would be adding that house load that we did under part 3 to this number before we did anything, multiplied it by anything. Okay. So, or divided it by anything. But that's just where we're at right now. We don't have that in our scenario. Adam says, what is that, Adam? I would love to develop courses for vocational schools in a little more and create something specific for them, because I am fearful that they're not teaching the core fundamentals that they need to learn. I think they're worrying too much about installing nuts and bolts and putting raceways together and making it look really pretty. And I get it. We want to have some pride in our trade. But my fear is they're not learning the ins and the outs that they need to understand the concepts. They're just blindly doing it. I posted a couple images this past weekend. I don't know if it ruffled some feathers. I posted some images of some zombie electricians, because if you're just fumbling through a job site and you don't understand the concepts of why you're doing something. What's up, David? Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you here. Glad you could spend the morning with us. Have a blessed day yourself. Hopefully your eyes work out good. I got to do the same thing. I need an eye check. My eyes are all over the place. But if the schools are not teaching these fundamentals and understanding it and making sure the students understand it, then they're doing a disservice to our industry. Everybody out there that's pulling cable, everybody out there that's pulling wire and just running things blindly, and you really don't know why you're doing it, it's a shame, because you'll always want to go through life wondering. And I like to dig into things. You know, when I saw on, I don't know whose channel it was. The guy was arguing till he's blue in the face that a 50 amp 2-pole breaker will give you 100 amps. When I saw that and I saw the long explanation that he literally took all this time to type this, and he is so wrong. And this is also grounding and bonding. You're shocked. I'm shocked at the stuff that I read on social media about grounding and bonding. And it's not Paul thinking he's greater than thou. It has nothing to do with that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But when I see things that are being taught and propagated by electricians that are incorrect, but they think it is, they need to stop and eat a little bit of humble pie, back up a little bit and say, dude, there's a high probability that I've been taught this stuff wrong for years. So again, that's what I'm all about. Okay. So I try not to do that. I don't do that much social media posting. Reality is I just don't care much for it. I like to do my streams and let it be shared, and that's it. So anyway, but I'm hoping that the schools will, I like to think they're getting better, but they're not. It's a sad to see it. Okay, enough of that. Let's get back to the lesson. All right. So that's the 41% of this value. Look at that difference though, guys. I mean, seriously. I mean, that is taking a VA value and literally dropping it. I'm going to say it's incredible the amount of diversity that we get using the optional method. Okay, so now we didn't have any house loads, but if you did have house loads, just a reminder, just use what we taught you last week. Take all those loads and do it like a standard calculation. So anybody that says you don't have to know how to do the standard, and I do have educators out there, no disrespect, but they say you don't need to learn the standard method. You don't need to learn. Run. That is not a way to teach. Teach the standard. Teach every table that you can teach. Take every opportunity to teach. Okay. Don't ever run from a lesson. Okay. So anyway, there you go. So if I did have a load that I did using part 3, that would go right here. Okay. Right there. Right there. Okay. So let's take that value that we had, 185,951. We're going to divide it by 240 because we do have 240 volt loads here. In the future, somebody asked, will we be doing some examples with 3-phase applications? Absolutely. We have a long journey here on Coffee Hour. This is a Monday through Friday show. So again, we are going to bridge that topic. Okay. We're going to bridge that topic. Absolutely. You do need to know, as I say over and over again, you have to know how to do the standard method because the neutral sizing in 220.61 is within part 3. So you can't get there from the... Now, what a lot of people will do is they'll just size it full size based on the values they get out of the option method because they don't want to do the math. And, okay, that type of scenario. So sometimes people just don't want to do the math. I'm sure you've seen it, David, where an engineer just makes everything full size because they just don't want to do the math. That type of scenario. All right. So here we got 185,951 divided by 240. I'm not going to trust it. I'm going to do it myself. 185,951. And I'm going to divide that by 240. And that be 774.7. So that is 175 amps. That's the minimum amps. Okay. There you go. Right there. Right. So what do we got? Some comments here. He says, what is it? It's if it's the NEC, most likely it needs to be learned, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think that the problem is that we are so focused in schools to teach the hands-on and realizing that once you get in the field, in most places, you got to put in a couple years before you can sit for licensing anyway. Unless it's an apprenticeship program that gives you that. And a lot of the more the IBWs or the IECs, and they have a rigorous program, and they do incorporate code in there. But a lot of the things that I see out there is just there's not enough code because we learned how to do it, but we don't learn why we do it. And believe it or not, most of the stuff that you do in the hands-on, even though that's the hands and you learn, most of what we do revolves around code, why we secure it, why we support it at certain distances, why we run certain circuits. And I think many people just boycott the learning. It's like a mental block. They don't want to dig deep into the code. And I spent my life in the code because I found the hands-on part easy. I've done switch gears. I've done multi-runs. I've done trade size 4 raceways, rigid and run and overhead, and done it for years on lifts. And I mean, how many do you have to do in your life to say I did it? I've done multifamily buildings. I've done multi-million-dollar dwellings. I've done commercial. I've done light commercial. I worked for W.E. Brown early on with my brother before we opened up our own business. We did that. So, I mean, at some point, I learned that I was like, you know what? I go through the motions, but I also need to learn the mental part. And the code is the mental part. Like it or not, code is the mental. And then you know what? There's actually a level beyond that most people don't think about, right? The physical part, the code's the mental part. When you want to become an owner or a leader, then you got to learn the leadership part, which is totally different, okay? Not every good worker is a good leader. Let's just say that. They're a good worker, but they're not a good leader. So you have different areas that you can learn, okay? So not every good worker or great electrician is a great leader. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So that's a different zombie picture for the win. All right. So anyway, yes. So dynamic in it that, that we can run into. So great discussions. All right. So 775 amps. All right. So now we go to 240.6A and see if there's an overcurrent device that is actually rated for 775 amps. And you all know this to be the case, right? There isn't one. So we go to the next standard size. So the next standard size is going to be 800. I think I can go without going there because I can tell you there is not a 775 amp rated overcurrent device. So probably can get away with not going to that one. Pretty common. But of course, if you're watching this on the replay at typically 5 o'clock every day, then you can pause it and go to 240.6A, and you'll notice there isn't a device that's rated 775 amps. So 240.4B, we're not over 800 amps, allows me to go up to the next standard size. So that would be 800 amps would be fine. Okay, so now sizing like we did before. We have to size to this load, okay? All right. So again, if the overcurrent device is rated more than 800 amps, then the ampacity must be equal to or greater than the rating of the device. Not our case. We have to make sure that we're able to handle the load, and our load was 775 amps. Okay, so this says that it's 3, but I am not sure. What's up, Awad? Thank you for joining. Beto, I see you in here with the win. Okay, so what we have to do is go, okay, I need to make sure that what we're dealing with is, and we're not using 310.12 because we're not doing individual dwelling units. We're doing the whole multifamily building, right? So in this scenario right here, I'm sizing. So I'm going to take that 775 and I'm going to divide the start off first. Well, here's what we'll do first. This says we're running parallels because that makes the most common sense when you're running that size, okay? But first, let's just not assume anything. Let's go to the code real quick, and I will go to 310.16. Okay. We always love to finish these units out. If I am anything, I am detailed. Yes, I'm drawn out, but I am detailed, if anything. You can call me whatever you want to call me, but I do go over the details. Okay. All right. So we're right here, and we're going to expand this view. All right. So we're always assume copper unless stated otherwise, right? So again, goes without saying. We'll pin this header. All right, so I need a conductor that's good for 775 amps. All right, under the 75-degree column, nothing was said about adjustment or corrections, so we're going to go right to 75-degree column. And let's see what we need. If I were to go down here, wow. Well, that's obvious, not going to happen, right? Because even when I get down here to 1,500, then that is 625. So that, I can tell you right now, you'd have to go all the way to 2,000 just to get a conductor that's good for 665, say. Okay, so that's not going to work. Okay, so that's not it. And I'll show you this right here so you can see right here. Here, look at this, 2,000, 665. That's not working. So you already know for one that you're going to parallel it. You already know for one. So let's take this and go, okay, well, what's that 775? Just divide it by 2. Let's do that first. So 775 divided by 2 equals 387.5 amps. Okay, so we go back up here and let's see here. So it wouldn't be 500s, so 600s. So I possibly, okay, so I could possibly do 2 sets. So look at your answers if you're doing an exam. Look at the best plausible answer, okay? But in our scenario, that I don't want to work with 600 kc mils. Okay, I don't want to work with 2 sets of 600 copper. So I probably logically I like to get things down under 500 kc mils when I'm paralleling. Okay, so again, the flavor is yours. In ours, we try to break it down so that it stays under the 500 kc mil. It's more rational, easy to run, even though you have to run extra raceways. If anybody's ever messed with 600, that's where it starts to become a real turd in the butt. So we're going to look at that. So I'm going to say, okay, let me redo that. And let me do this 775. And I'm going to divide it by 3 and see if it's more manageable. So 775 divided by 3 is 258 amps. So I'm coming down here and I'm like, well, almost gets me to 250, but not quite enough. I got to go to 300. Okay. 300 is more manageable. Just remember, in the real world, you have leeway, right? Whether you wanted to run a 2 sets or you wanted to run 3 sets. Hell, if you want to run 4 sets, that's up to you. Okay. That type of scenario. So you get to make these rules. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the lesson. So in our case, we're choosing 3 because my golden rule is to try to get us under 500. That's just always my golden rule. And of course, my rules. That's how we're going to do it. So best is for running it. So we would say 300 kc mil copper. And of course, that's what it would be in aluminum. Okay. All right. So that's that size that we're running there. Okay. All right. Now, the neutral. Okay. So interesting. If you look at the neutral, see this values right here? See this? This is your neutral. Now, interesting enough, this is what we were talking about earlier. This is what David was mentioning, and we've talked about it in last week when we did the standard method. Notice how you're going to have to use the standard method, right? And of course, you get to apply all of the allowances under the standard method to do this. So we redid this last week. And again, last week when we did it, we took all of the neutral loads, right? And we had a value that was over 200. So we were able, because we're in the 2023 edition of the NEC, we applied the 70% to the values for the range and the clothes dryer, okay? And then we were able to apply that 70% to that value, but we're also allowed to apply an additional 70% to the value that's over 200 of neutral load. That is unique to the 2023 edition of the NEC. Because in the 2020, it's either or because of the words that are in 220.61. I disagree with it. I think that you could do it, but some AHJs could be a stickler on it because of the language. It says this and, or this, whereas in the 2023, it says this and this. So I can apply the demands here directly to the calculation for those ranges and dryers. But I also can apply the demand to the portion that's over 200 as well. So it's kind of like doing it twice. That would be okay under the 2023, not okay under the 2020, okay? Whether or not the plans examiners or people catch that, or whether they care, or whether they realize that as the 2023 just corrected what we should have been able to do all along. If you're confused about the neutral, go back and watch last week because I'm not going to rehash that over again tonight, all right, or today, this morning. But ultimately, it resulted in what? It resulted in the fact that we have 126 amps per neutral conductor, and we have to parallel it the same way that we did the hot conductors, okay? Because of the rules in 310.10G, okay, for paralleling. So we have to follow that. Now, obviously, if you go to the ampacity table, it would probably be less than 1 aught. But remember the paralleling rules. If you're paralleling conductors, hot conductors, neutral conductors, grounded conductors, then they can't be smaller when paralleling, cannot be smaller than 1 aught. So even if this had to come out to be a 1 gauge for the neutral for each one, it still would have to be a 1 aught because of the paralleling rules that are in 310.10g. Okay, so just remember there are paralleling rules you have to be aware of. But again, if any of that with the neutral confuses you, go back and watch the standard method. Why? As David said, as many of you know, and as I've repeated over and over again, anybody that tells you that you don't have to know how to do the standard method are full of crap. Do not follow them. They are not a good educator because they're telling you wrong. And we have a responsibility to educate you properly. It's our responsibility. So you do need to know how to do this. Now, in the real world, is it the probability that the neutral, if it's raceways being run, is it a probability that they probably will make the neutral full size? Absolutely, it's a possibility. And if they do that, no calculation necessary. They're just going to run all 300 kc mils, and you've got a neutral that's larger than it needs to be. That's fine. What you'll see later is if we're talking about a 3-phase system, depending on the loads and how you do it, then that neutral may have a lot of harmonics, may have a major portion of the system is nonlinear loads, things like that can cause that neutral to get current that is more than you would expect it to have. It's not simply carrying the imbalance. That's going to change the size of the neutral. And we'll talk about that when we're doing 3-phase applications. Okay, keep it simple, stupid, as we learn them here in Coffee Hour, making it easy for us. All right, so there you go, 1 aughts. So we have 300 kc mil for the hots, and we have 1 aughts paralleled for the neutral. Okay. All right, when it comes to this one now, we are talking about the grounding electrode conductor here, okay, because this is a service. All right, we're not talking feeders, we're talking services on this one. We're not going out to any individual unit. So in this case, we're going to be looking at 250.66. Now, 250.66 is where we size the grounding electrode conductor, or the GEC, and it's based on the size of the ungrounded hot conductors. And if you have multiple sets, then it's based on the summation of those parallel sets. And you don't use all of the conductors, just choose one phase or one leg, and that's it. So if I have 3 sets, 3 raceways if it's 12240, we have A and B in a neutral, A and B in a neutral. If you do it that way, then it's simply the A in each one, okay? Keep it simple. Or line 1 if you want in each one, okay? Now, if it is, in our case, it was 300 kc mil, so 300,000 circular mils, okay, times 3 is 900,000 circular mils, right? So we're going to go to the NEC, and let's see here if I can bring it back. All right, so we're going to go here, and we're going to go to 250.66, and we're going to size this grounding electrode conductor. Now remember, some people will say, well, if it was a ground rod, it only has to be a 6, because that's what it says in 250.66a, right? A rod, pipe, or plate. And it doesn't go on to another electrode that would require a larger GEC, then I can just go 6. And it doesn't have to be larger than the 6. In fact, it could be smaller than a 6 if it's like 100 amp. Okay, everybody thinks that the ground rods, it has to be 6. Now, you get into some protection rules that you have to worry about protecting it from damage if you're smaller than a 6 and yada, 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 which we cover in grounding and bonding. But the important thing is, in our lesson, we don't know what type of electrode it is. So when you don't know the type of electrode it is, then you're going to default to the table. If I know it's a rod, pipe, or plate, if I know it's a UFER, if I know that it's a ground ring, then I can go to 250.66a, b, and c and see what options I have. If I don't have any of those options, because that's not what we're given to us in our exam, or it's not what we're dealing with then on a site, and they don't know the electrodes, then what we'd have to do is just go to the table. And so going to the table, and we're again, here it says based on the largest ungrounded conductor, or since we ran parallel sets, it's the equivalent area for parallel conductors. So that's why we took just leg 1 or leg A, or whatever you want to, what flavor it is for you. And it's 300 plus 300 plus 300 because it was 3 sets. And that is 900,000. So we're coming down here. And so we're over 6 Okay, let me get down here, right here. We're over 6, but we're not over 1,100, which is 1,100,000. We were at 900,000. So we fall right in the middle right here. Okay, so in that scenario, our size of our GEC is going to be 2-aught copper or 1-aught, or 4-aught, excuse me, I don't know where I get 1-aught, 4-aught aluminum. So 2-aught copper or 4-aught aluminum is going to be the size for our GEC. And there it is right here. And that's your 2-aught copper or 4-aught aluminum. Okay, and that's going to go over to whatever electrode it is. Now, if they later come back and they put in ground rods and you didn't know that and you ran a 2-aught to it, then you're going to CAD weld to it. Or maybe you have a connector that will allow it to accept 2-aught to a ground rods and whatnot like that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. You'll make that connection. You'll find a fitting that will allow that, and you'll be done. And you're like, well, it's overkill, but you know what? Is what it is. Okay. So anyway, okay, that makes sense. Okay. Well, rest assured, guys, we're going to go do some giveaways real quick. But rest assured, tomorrow we're going to go over the same thing, but we're going to do that 6 unit again. Okay. And the 6 unit is going to allow us to re-hammer these concepts in our head again. So we're being redundant. But we're hammering these concepts. And oh, by the way, just so you can see, let's go back really quickly here to this lesson. So under the optional method, this building was a 300 kc mill for this whole building. So let's real quick go back in time and let's see what it was for the using the standard method. Okay, the standard method. Okay, here you go. So using the standard method, it was a 400 kc mill. So it was 300 kc mill. It was still 3 sets. So using the standard method, it resulted in 400 kc mill. Okay. In the optional method, it resulted in a 300 kc mill. So one size bump when it came for that. The neutral was still a 1-aught because, again, that's how we did the calculation. It was the same regardless of how we did it. So again, so in our calculation, we able to change. Now, as far as the numbers, let's see here. So it looked like we had 223,245 is what our value after we applied all the demands, and that was using the standard method, 223,000. And our optional method yielded, let's see here, our optional method yielded 185. So again, saved approximately 40 or 50,000 VA by using the optional method. Okay, so either way, you're going to now where the cost might help you is in, let's see here, where the cost may be something that helps. Let's go back real quick. I want to look into the cost wise. The cost might be right here. Okay, for you and me, here's where the cost might be right here. There's a difference between the 1,000, right, and the fact that we had to do what? Since we were over 800, we had to have the conductors that were full size for the 1,000. This might be where the cost kicks you, whereas you're using the optional versus standard. Now, I can get away with an 800 amp device versus a 1,000 amp device, and all the goodness that comes with being 1,000 in your sizing, right, is different. Okay, because again, it's rated over, and that's what's going to make the big difference here. Okay, so at the end of the day, that might be where your cost absorption is rather than having to get gear that has got a 1,000 amp rated device in there. I can get gear. It's got smaller conductors and it only has to be 800 amps. So thinking smarter in your design, that's a big difference. And it's going to, at the bottom line, I can guarantee you this 1,000 amp gear is going to be more expensive than the 800 amp gear. Okay. And everything saves you money. And again, it's all about, I can use the optional, daggone it, I'm going to use it. Okay, that's a great analogy. Okay, let's do some giveaways and give some stuff away. I've got the pen in hand, and I appreciate all of you hanging in there. Again, as normal, I am long-winded, and I apologize for those that are offended by my long-windedness. It is what it is. All right, so I'm going to spin. Let's go. Those are behind the scenes. If you're on link, Instagram. Join us for the live. All right, Edgar. Awesome. Let's see what you get in on. Let's see what you get, Edgar. Let's see what you're gonna get in on the spin here today. Remember, tomorrow we're going to do the 6 unit. Try it for yourself at home and see what answers you get. Give it a shot. Back to put the info back on the screen so that you can jot it down if you want, or take a screen capture, whatever. That way you can do your homework and come back tomorrow and see if your answers match for the 6 unit. Because by now it should be easy peasy. You know how to do the steps, the optional method, easy, okay, that type of thing. And of course, we're going to do the individual units with the optional method as well, probably towards the end of the week. So got to hang in there. All right, so Edgar, you got Fast Tracks Tube. If you're already a member of Fast Tracks Tubes, let me know. I will spin it again and give you another shot at something else. But that's what we got you down, Fast Tracks Tube. All you got to go is to fasttrackstube.com, sign up at the top where it says member plans, click on it, scroll down, choose a free membership, pick your username, sign up, and let us know. And we will get you set up for 12 months of access to our video platform. We did upload some videos yesterday or day before, some old episodes of our Fast Coffee Hour. So check that out. All right, so let's do this again. I am a fast talker. Daniel, thanks for joining us, Daniel. All right, let's see what you're getting in on the drawings for, Daniel. Let's go. Let's see what you got. What we got going on. Still got time, folks. Hashtag win. Get it in. Still got my misspelled word in there. All right, so what this is, Daniel, this is our bidding software from Best Bid Hybrid Next Generation. It's I don't remember the cost, over $2,500 value. I don't remember the exact cost, but it is a complete estimating software. It is amazing. It's no updates. I mean, you get the updates, but it's not like you have to pay a monthly fee. You're in the drawing, so I'm going to add you for the drawing. We're giving that away. So that is an amazing prize. And Steve Griffin over at Best Bid Hybrid is the one that donated that. And it's amazing. For those that are interested in a software, I encourage you, if you're early into your career, learn how to estimate, learn how to use a software. I recommend Best Bid Hybrid. You can search for it online, bestbidestimatingsoftware.com, I believe. But without a doubt, I've used Conest. I've messed with AccuBid. They have, some of them have great bells and whistles, but I love Best Bid Hybrid. So check it out. Okay, so you're in that drawing. Don't worry, folks. We'll let you know who wins, and you'll see an episode which I have all the winners on the screen. So don't have to worry about when you'll be notified. It'll be easy. You'll see. Don't worry. Just relax. Just relax. All right, let's do another one. Let's go. I had people emailing me saying, well, I won something. When do I know when I won? We'll let you know. Charles Bailey. All right, Charles, let's see what you're getting, my friend. Let's spin the wheel. Again, thank you all for joining us on Coffee Hour. Those who are still here. Some people drop off because I am long-winded. But goodness comes to those who wait. Okay. All right, Charles, Fast Tracks Tube. You may already be a subscriber to that. Let me know. But the instructions are go to Fast Tracks Tube, go to the members, choose the members, free membership. Okay, up at the top where it says membership plans, click on it. and then sign up through there, pick your username, yada, yada, yada. Let us know. We will elevate you to 12 months. If you already have a plan, let us know. We'll update you and you'll just get another 12 months from that date that we update you. Okay, so there you go. All right, let's do this again. Let's do another giveaway. If you're over on Instagram and you want to get in on the drawing, you got to go to the live. Crypto! All right, Crypto Maniac. Okay, let's see what you get, my friend. Let's go. Let's see what you get. All my coffee hours are becoming extremely long. Because I'm long-winded, can't complete something, and my wife says you can't complete something. Ooh, another Fast Tracks tube. What the heck? All right, so Crypto, if you already got that, we can spin again. If you already have that, just let me know. All right, and we will definitely spin it again and give you another chance at something else if you already have it. Okay, or you can choose to extend it again from this date on for another year. We got some great stuff that are coming out on it. Another interactive video is releasing in the next, I think, sometime this week. So another one where it asks you questions while you're watching the video, so it forces you to learn during the process. So that's coming out, another interactive one. That type of thing. All right, let's see. All right. Well, I don't see anybody let me know, so maybe it's a delay, and that's the reason that it's not letting me know, but it looks like everybody's got something on here. So let's kind of wind this thing down for today. So everybody, I want to show you again for your homework, those that want to do the homework, let me show you on the screen the information that you need to write down. Okay, so this is the information that you need to write down, and I don't think it lets me get it bigger. Oh yeah, it does. There you go. So if you can see it right there, feel free to jot that information down, do your homework. We're going to be doing a 6-unit complex tomorrow. Same numbers. We do this because I'm a big believer in what's called repetition, and I'm a big believer in making sure that we hammer this stuff home. It also gives you the opportunity to, while you're doing it, if you have any questions, that you can bring it to our live session and ask us about it. So again, a lot of people do that. They see questions and different things during the show, and they contact us and reach out and say, I didn't understand this or that. I prefer you to ask the questions during the show. That way I don't have to spend a lot of time answering emails, because I get literally thousands of emails. It's incredible the number of emails I get. Some great, some, it really is asking for stuff that I really can't help them with. But I do my best to try to do what I can do. So there you go. You can screen capture it, record it, whatever. Do me a favor, do your homework. Let's see if tomorrow's is right for you. And there you go. Okay. So let me take it back to me. All right, everybody. Hey, I appreciate you coming, joining me. It's been a little longer one. We went a little bit over today, but we stayed under an hour and a half. So now Coffee Hour is Coffee Hour Plus. That's what we're going to call it. Coffee Hour Plus. Okay. Not really. Not going to change the name, but there you go. All right, folks. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. I appreciate all of you. Go over and try the hog, folks. Tradehog.net. Go check it out. Tradehog.net. Feed the hog. Let us know how it works for you. If you want to subscribe to the hog, it's going to be great to have in your pocket. Answers all those technical questions in the field. Check it out. But we'll catch you tomorrow for another episode of Coffee Hour. Peace. God bless.